Mavis, thank you for letting us record your story. You are a trailblazer for many of us in the queer community in London.
Thank you.
Even though you didn't start in London, it's an honor to have you as part of our group. We enjoy being with you. You're lots of fun. You're game for anything. And I really appreciate that you're letting us record this so that the generations coming behind can see what it was like for you back
Right.
in the day.
I welcome that, and it's a good thing
Good.
to open up the door occasionally.
Yeah, it is. So, Mavis, I know you're okay to talk about your age. Can you tell us when you were born?
I was born in 1933.
And that was even before World War I start or World War II started.
I suppose it was
Yes.
because I wouldn't have known anything about it at that age.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
Wow. And where were you born?
Kingston, Ontario, in General Hospital.
Oh, in the hospital. Okay.
In the
All right.
hospital.
So, what was Mavis's childhood like?
It was kind of fun as long as we had the goats to play with, and that was our. I don't know. That was the highlight of our toys. We didn't have toys very much. My brother got a bicycle when he was going to high school, which he never got to go to. But however, we had the bicycle. And otherwise, it was just a farm family, and we played with each other as family, tag and the usual stuff.
How many children were in your family?
4.
And are you oldest, youngest, middle?
I'm the eldest, the boss. Yeah, you're the oldest, so you look after them. It wasn't quite that bad. It wasn't bad at all. And I used to have a lot of fun scaring my sister.
Oh, good. Okay.
She was one of these, yeah. And she's not that now, thank goodness. But she'd hide behind the curtain and I'd jump out at her and go boo, sort of thing. And, Mommy! There we go. No, it was just the usual farm kids using their imagination for toys and things. So it was fun. And I mentioned the goat.
Mm-hmm.
We played tag with the goat. You couldn't have a better chaser than the goat.
For sure.
And a lot of people know about that. But anyway, we had to watch out because if anybody came to visit, we had to check the car, see whether the goat was in it or not. Because it used to hike a ride.
Okay. So the goat really felt like it was part of the family.
Oh, it was, yeah.
Cool. What was high school days like for you?
Not good.
No?
No, not good. I didn't go past 10.
Okay.
We were very poor, like people were in those days.
Yes.
And I had to stay at my grandma's out in the village, one or of the two, and sometimes both, to stay in order to go to high school because that's where it was. It was out in the country.
And they didn't have school buses in those days.
They did later on,
Right.
but he didn't want to come that far for one person, so he didn't come anymore. There was no transportation. I had to stay at one of my grandma's
Right.
in order to go to high school.
Okay.
So it was a bit of a struggle, and it wasn't. I was just poor, and I didn't know it, and I didn't care. But there it was.
So when
So-
you were starting to work, did you work on the farm and help your parents, or did you have a job
I
elsewhere?
had a job. I went to Kingston. I got a job, kind of housekeeping with someone, that sort of thing, and I didn't like that very much.
No?
So I kept my eyes open, and I was usually quite alert. And I saw a clerk's job open in Kingston, Warden Hamilton's drugstore, and I was there. Worked for something like $16 a week.
Oh my goodness. cents.
That was a lot of money.
People make more than that an hour now.
Yeah. And I would, payday, you get your money in a little brown bag. And I worked right next door to the drugstore. And as soon as I got my money, my pay, I just ran to the bank and put in some money. And that was my first trip into savings. And I think that was that kind of time meant so much to me that I wouldn't spend a cent. So until I had a certain amount, because I would always have a goal in what I was going to spend for. So, and I can't remember at the moment how that turned out, other than that I did end up with a little tiny one of those tiny little Austin cars. And that's good. So I enjoyed that. Used to take people, my friends, for rides. Didn't have to have any licenses at that time.
Really?
No.
Wow.
And, well, I was still 16, something like that. And the first thing I ever drove was a tractor, of course, and that helped out. But otherwise, no, we just drove. That's the sort of thing, and it was good because it got me, I could go home and visit, and yeah, I think I was very attached to the family, always, and yet I always left it to go somewhere, to travel. It just seemed I had that freedom to do so, and so I did.
So where's the first place you went to travel?
I suspect it would be, it was Great Britain. After the Navy, when I was discharged, friends had family in Britain. They were Scottish descent and they were immigrants, sort of thing. And we got talking as usual and said, I want to go to travel, but I need somebody to go with me because I don't know my way around and all this stuff. So, and she was younger than I, but she said I never completed my education while I was there with my parents, and I want to do that, so I want to go back as an adult. So I said, let's go, and that was it. We just packed up and went over. She had family. And we were welcomed, and so we did. We went to Scotland, Edinburgh, got a job. You could do that in Britain at that time. You didn't need any ID, or you didn't need a whole lot of paperwork or something. You just walked into a place and said, I'd like a job. And you usually got one. And that was an experience. And from there, we traveled to the out countries. It just got bigger and bigger and better and better. So,
how long did you stay there?
Again, it was the Magnificent 3. It was about 3 years, a little better than 3 years again. And that was, for youngster, age didn't matter. It was the experience that did. So that was good. And then I came home, spent some time at home, got a job. I was always working, and it was kind of nice of that era. You could just walk into a drugstore and they would have seen you on the street, more or less, and hi, and this sort of thing, and then have you got a place for a clerk? Do you need a clerk? Or somebody would call you from the street. I need somebody to help me here, can you? And the times were so different then. You were taken at face value. I walked away from most of my jobs to another job with extraordinary recommendations, and some of them I still have. And that's something to look at too. Mavis Orchard has accomplished blah, blah, blah. And that was, it was just comfortable. It was nice. It was family.
Tell me how you ended up in the Navy. How did that happen?
How did that happen? Well, okay, I worked for the drugstore, and I needed accommodation. So a friend of mine and my mother's, yes, she was my mother's friend actually. She and her husband had a house. She needed somebody to help her because she was pregnant. So I was asked would I go and live with them until the baby was born, etc., etc. And so I did. But in the meantime, I got a job at the DuPont. That was the best paying job. They told us at the time that the people who worked at DuPont and nursing were the highest paid in the city. And perhaps it was, because I made a lot of money at that point, which of course I put away in the bank, which is okay. And who knows what you're going to use your bank money for, but most of it went home. But anyhow, that was fine with me too. So how did next door there were 3 girls living. Two were hairdressers, and the other one was, what did she do? They were all hairdressers except Charlie. He was in the Navy. He was the boyfriend of one of the girls. And he introduced us to a lot of Navy stuff. We used to go down to what did they call that building? Anyway, people went down there, and that was a social where they met socially, and I met people. I met the nurse who was in charge of the people who had signed on, and we got to be quite good friends. And I said, I probably just said, oh, I always thought I'd like to join the Navy. Wow, did you really? Okay, come with me. And that's about as simple as it was.
How old were you at that time?
About 22, okay. 23, yeah. And so I jumped at the chance, and we got the papers ready, and it went home, and they told everybody what was happening. My mom was happy for me, but she was upset because she said, "You're so young. You're so young to be going away from home." But there was no recourse anyway. Those times, everybody, as soon as you were old enough, you went to work. And that was fine. I mean, that was an education in itself. And I love farming. I loved the farm. I really did. I wish I had times that I would not have taken one step off it, but it wasn't mine, it was my dad's, so you don't. Mm-hmm. And that's how I got introduced to the Navy. And then I began to attend certain social things that they were doing, and was accepted and told to come along. And they were hiring Wrens at that time after the war. It was a rough time for a lot of people. If you were in the service, that was pretty choosy. That was pretty cozy, because everything was supplied at that time, just like it is today.
Did you stay in Kingston when you joined the Navy?
For a very short period of time, because you had to have the
like basic training kind of thing?
Yes, it would. Yes, it was. It was their basic training, and you had to. Then you were measured for your clothes and all of that kind of stuff. So You had to go to Cornwallis, Nova Scotia for your basic. And that excited me. It scared me too, because I was the only one on the plane. On the train, we went down by train. I was the only one from Kingston to Nova Scotia. And I did that by myself on the train. I don't know how I did it. I was a kid, you know.
You weren't afraid of anything then, were you?
No.
It was all an adventure.
It's yes, and there were nice people on the way. They were always, I could always read a person for some reason. Maybe my cow experience, I don't know. Anyway, I did, and it was overnight in Montreal. And during that little trip, something happened to one of the wheels on the train, and we had to bunk up and stay overnight. And I didn't have an overnight ticket, but you know something? I had a ticket, of course, to go down. I had my guitar with me, and I found myself a bench, and I sat down on it, and there was one of the cleaners that went by back and forth, and he was, I'll never forget him really. He was very watchful and solicitous. He was really, really nice. It didn't bother me, but he said, and it became so that he obviously saw that I was pretty sleepy, and he came to me and he told me, he said, I'm looking after you. He said, nobody's going to come near you tonight. He said, I'm going to be here, so you can have a sleep if you like. And I did. He did, and it came out at the other end. Just everything was fine, and I don't think I ever saw him again. So it was, in retrospect, I suspect that it was one of my angels again. Mm-hmm. And I don't have any problems accepting my angels. Mm-hmm. And that probably is one of the things that I have learned and gained in my life is something that's watching over me. Something.
Mm-hmm. And so you made it to Cornwallis for your training?
So I made it to Cornwallis in my Ontario farm clothes, which was pretty down and out, but that never bothered me anyway. Clothes never bothered me, as long as I was clean, and I got that from my granny, you know. So I had somebody pick me up from Cornwallis. They must have been astounded. Where are the other people? There's supposed to be something like 18 people on that train to come down for the training. But I didn't meet them until later in the week, and the officers didn't really know what to do with me for the time that I had to wait for the rest of the crew. But we managed somehow, and then I got measured, and everybody else folded in, and we began the terms and everything that you have to supposed to know, and I just loved it. I just loved it. So.
How long were you there for training? Do you remember?
It wasn't, it was a few months. It was the winter, I think, during the winter, because there was a lot of snow around at that time as well. Yeah, I would say the winter time. And that, of course, made marching from barracks up to the dining room is kind of funny. And we had our favorite officers, of course. And no, that was fine. The time passes. Time passes.
When you were in Cornwallis at that age, were you aware yet of your sexuality?
I kind of, yes. No, not intensely. It was, I knew I felt differently, or I just felt something strange otherwise. I hadn't, I'm sure I hadn't even heard the word gay. I was just me. It didn't, there were certain people I was attracted to, and that was male as well as female. Yeah, because I was that age that I was just looking for somebody. That was one of the things on my list, was I wanted to find somebody special to live with. That was on one of the lists of to do. And it just kept you busy, and there were so many nice people that I had met, and that again was a wonderful thing. And I was in Nova Scotia. Oh my God, it was just like being in second heaven. And you know, Nova Scotia still has that pull for me. I still love it, and I've got a lot of friends down there, so that's always a special place.
So when you were done training, where did you end up?
Ottawa.
Okay.
They come to you and say, of course, and nearly all of us, there are a lot of girls from the West Coast and from the West provinces. And they were, you know, like we said, they were tree bound. They had to get out of Alberta or someplace anyway. And you might as well see the world from Nova Scotia. It's the best place anyway, you know. So they were disappointed. I'm not so sure that they probably got posted to Vancouver. And when you think about it, where are you going to post some Navy people anyway? But I didn't expect to get posted to Ottawa. That's 120 miles from home. And I just thought, oh my God, I got to go home every weekend. But it was okay. And I found that I didn't have to do that. So, and I was in Ottawa almost 2 years. It was a good place, and they were a good group of people. We didn't have barracks there. We had apartments, and that was an experience as well, living with people that you didn't know, and then you finally knew, and all that sort of thing. And I had my mom came down from Kingston to visit me, and that was one of the best times I ever had, I guess, because I love my mom, and she never got out, and I thought, oh hey, she's gone down here to see this child of hers, and so no, she had a good time with my friends, and I sent her home happy that I was okay and behaving myself and all that mother stuff, and it was fun. I like that.
So after you were done in Ottawa, where did you end up?
That was it. That was my whole period of time in the service, really, was in Ottawa.
Okay.
And it was a little disappointing, but otherwise I learned so much, and I learned about people, and that was great. And then, of course, because I was still posted to a pretty dour place, I finished it. I did it well. I was recommended, and I said goodbye. It was time. I could have stayed on, but it was my particular time that I had signed on for.
Okay.
So I figured that, oh, I know what it was, yes. My friend and I, who decided to go to Britain in the first place,
Right.
we decided that this was the time to do it.
Okay.
So we did it.
And then you spent the next 3 years in Britain.
Then I spent the next 3 years in Britain, yeah. And that was glorious. It really was.
Wow.
So especially when you're this young and I was so, I don't know. I wasn't naive. I wasn't that kind of person, really. But I knew what to choose and what not to. It seemed that way. And I was lucky, and I had met nice people too, kind of guide me through as well. And that was good. And Edinburgh I loved. Moffat and all the other little places there. So it's a little bit like home when I go traveling back there, because things are so familiar, and they became familiar for long. And the people are still. Once in a while, I get a postcard, and that's a long time.
So what brought you back home to Canada then?
Me, I wanted to farm. My family, I wanted to be with. I can only be so long away from them, and then I have to go home. And they're kind of nice people.
That's good.
I think they're nice people anyway. And yeah. And then, you get the urge to travel again. So there you go. There's something that tweaks. It says, oh, I've never been there. I've not seen this before. What are you talking about? And yeah, you get the itch, I guess, to travel. Mm-hmm. That's about it. I like that.
When you went home after Great Britain, were you on the farm with your family, or did you stay in Kingston?
No, I didn't stay. It's just I'd stay to help. Probably help bring in the hay or something of that nature. Mm-hmm. And no, it was good. I read a lot during that time. Nothing really. I can't pinpoint anything particular, except, of course, I didn't go. I used to travel again, and I met somebody whose family came from Holland, mm-hmm. And I went to Holland several times, and that is, even today, is very similar to going home, because that family has more or less adopted me, and they come here still, some of them, and then I go there, and I always have an outstanding invitation to come to Holland, and so I do. I've gone several times, and at that point, because it's familiar and I know where I'm going, it's you most often go by myself.
Wow.
And that's yeah. I was there not too long ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did you end up with the Kingston Police Force?
One of the girls who lived in the house next door, one of the four, we used to party a lot. She met Paul, and he was a cop, a young cop, yeah. And they eventually got married. And that's how I got sort of thing. And Charlie, as I said, Charlie had the apartment upstairs, and he was in the Navy. He'd come, he'd go, that sort of thing. And he was very generous. He had this wonderful big car. And we used to drive to Watertown about 5 o'clock, go over there, have dinner, and come back again. And that was just kind of usual. You don't do that. You don't do that today at all. Mm-hmm. So we had it really good. It was fun. Um, it's just getting to know people and liking them, I guess, and feeling as if it's comfortable, all that. And that was good as well.
So when you first became involved with Kingston Police, what did you do? What was your job?
What was my job? My job wasn't very onerous. No, it really wasn't. They didn't know what to do with me. I wanted very badly to go to police college, but there was an officer of high standing who didn't really care for me. They didn't think they should have a female officer. Really deliberately avoided giving me appointments and work to do. And of course, at that time, and it sounds funny today, I know, he was of a different religion than I was, or I was different than him. And the only thing that salvaged me at any point in that relationship on the police force was that our grandfathers belonged to the same, what would I say, the same club.
Okay.
From where they both came from.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing, that the person had the authority to determine what was to happen to some of the children, the little guys that were getting into trouble, that are getting into trouble today too, but not getting the same thing. And the person who had the authority determined that even as a police officer, and it wasn't my job, I was doing a better job than the person who was doing it. So the teenagers were all directed to me for counseling, and that you know, for 24, 25-year-old, that's I look at that and wonder. But that position was resented, and I just didn't get on. I loved the police force. I felt as if I was doing something, and people, you know, even though I was pretty small too. I wasn't wasn't a very big person,
Yes.
and I would hear some of the people that I couldn't avoid putting in a cell, at least overnight for safety, and talking back and forth and saying, she must have the belt, the black belt. Why is she, you know, well, why do you say that? Well, she's so small. And I was small.
But did some of your Navy training help with some of your force, to call it that?
I say no, perhaps some of the physical things, yes, yeah, training, because I did have some of that. No, it's just from where I came from.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I can
Cows.
ever say, you know. The youngsters, I felt so badly for them, and I would see them on the street, and I knew that they had lifted something in some of the stores along the road there in Kingston. And they knew when I saw it too, and half the time they would put it back.
Okay.
And that's what I wanted, really. And the one particular girl, I was doing the walkabout in Kretzky's, I think, and I saw her pick up a clock. And she knew, our eyes met. She knew I saw her do it. And so it seems that you have this understanding with them. I looked at her and she looked at me, and I turned my back and walked away. And I wanted her to put that clock back so badly. Mm-hmm. And I gave her all the chance in the world, and she didn't do it. There's something that made her go ahead with it. I don't know, maybe it was a daredevil thing anyway. She had the clock when she came out the store. And I said, you know what this means? And she says, yes. I said, why did you do it? I said, I gave you all the chance in the world to put that clock back. She said, I don't know why. Well, I said, you know what we have to do. So we walked down the street, she beside me and talking, chatting away, and walked into the police station, and I had to arrest her and put her in the cell. And that was hard to do.
And she had a chance to run away from you and she didn't.
No, something made her, you know, like say the devil made me do it, sort of thing. And I don't know what made her do it.
Is it possible that she stayed with you because you were the only person who ever showed any care and concern for her?
No.
No? You don't think so?
No, I don't think, not the only person, maybe a person.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, no. And I never had any problem. If there was a baddie that I had given lots of chances to, did the same thing, I would just kind of said, you know, come on, let's go. And then you know what that meant. It's just we're going to walk down to the police station. Mm-hmm. Somehow or other they had no other recourse. I don't know why. Mm-hmm. Because it wasn't, they didn't have gangs like they have today. There was nobody pushing her except yourself. So it was, you know.
So you liked your job with the police force?
I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it. I
and
wish I could have stayed.
What happened when you wanted to go to police college?
I was refused.
Yeah.
I was refused. They're not going to send one person down there, especially a woman.
Yeah. And what did your fellow officers do?
They went on strike.
Amazing.
And Miss Dr. Lewis, the MP.
Yes.
David Lewis.
Okay.
He was my lawyer at that time.
Okay.
And he was upset that he got defeated. The argument was, do they send me to police college or no?
Yeah.
And it was amazing who said no. So I knew where I stood there for sure, although it wasn't very nice. And it hurt a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. But your officers stood up for you.
They sure did. Everybody. Yeah. All of them.
Yeah.
80 some cops.
Wow. So how long did you stay with the Kingston Police Force?
I'm not exactly sure of the dates. It was, it would be almost 4 hours, 4 days. One of the things that I did while I was on the police force, I transferred over to head office in Kingston.
Okay.
And it all kind of melded into the others. And it was that the headquarters in Kingston at that point that I just transferred over, and then when I got something else or wanted to do something else or go someplace and I would quit probably.
Okay.
And go then. And I can't. Things get a little jarry after a while.
Okay. Okay. All right. So can you tell me about a coming out process?
Being gay, yeah.
What was your coming out process like, even to yourself?
I didn't have one.
Oh.
That's the thing. I don't know. I just always was. I felt this way and I was comfortable with it. And I did. And I had no thought of being anybody else.
Okay.
or anything, and that it puzzles a lot of people. It puzzles me now that you've been asked about it. I was never in any great danger or any horrible shaming that some of the kids go through these days. I just had a family that was benign in that area. They accepted everybody pretty well. And when I think on it, there was a black woman who was a missionary that came to visit our house one week, and she was doing a mission and preaching and that sort of thing and for that weekend. And we guested her. She was one of the people who came to visit, and so that was our early connection to anybody who was different colored. Different didn't matter to us for some reason. When I think on it, you have an extraordinary family. You wouldn't think that when they were so strict religiously otherwise. Maybe you didn't dance, you weren't supposed to dance, but the acceptance of people, different people, was fine. So I feel very fortunate in that regard. And it makes a difference whether you're brought up this way or you're not, or you have to get a jarring, or somebody, sticks a stick in your eye, something. So coming out didn't really have a force with me, except that I was stubborn enough. This is how I am, and I don't care. I like this person, and we're going to see what happens, sort of thing. And yeah, I was young, and there was a lot of temptation out there. It was pretty good, and I never minded that one little bit. I was choosy. I was choosy.
So how did you find other gay people? Because in those days there were not a lot of public places for gay people at all.
Well, the ball game, the ball field was one that was open. Sure. I used to play ball. And I don't know, it's a playful thing. I've never thought about this for a long time, except in the Navy. That's where I really fell headlong. And it eventually broke up, and that was heartbreaking. But no, the others were, probably flirtations, I don't know. I don't know, what do you young people do anymore? I don't know. It was a nice feeling. It was pleasant. It was fun.
So how did you meet your longtime partner?
Probably from another person, person, not necessarily a gay person. It could have been somebody in a... Mm-hmm. No, I really don't remember.
Okay.
It was just a long time. Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you come to London?
One of my partners. I did a lot of traveling with 4 other people as well. It may have been a desire to have family somewhere, because I was away from mine so often. And then, of course, they got married and moved away. They would section off practically, as families do. My brother got married, and he had a family. You didn't see much of them anymore. And it was the same with your sisters. They got married and had children and moved away, had a family sort of thing. So that's when I probably felt being alone. Single was most important to me at that time, or at least it hurt that much time. And so I either made the choice to stay by myself or go looking for somebody else. And I never actually ever went looking. It found me. But it was my final relationship was kind of sad because my partner died with cancer. And so it's a disruption. It's hurtful, and it hurts everybody around you as well. And you've got a lot more friends than you ever thought you had, of all kinds, gay, straight, whatever. So, and I found if you treat everybody nice and kind, what else is there? Exactly. Nothing else. Yeah. So it's a give and take. Only it's a different thing here. We're giving and taking.
Once you stopped working, how did you keep yourself busy?
A garden. We had a nice house, and we had a wonderful garden. Huge, naturally. And I read a lot. We traveled, and it was kind of nice to have a partner to travel with. And I don't know, it's just time goes.
It does, doesn't it?
It does, really does. So it's, I think, I don't know, you can't stand still, that's for sure. I don't, I never did, so. Yeah, if something was interesting, I'd have to have a look at it. And I became interested somewhat in politics, not necessarily running in politics, but making sure that the right person was suitable or whatever, just like it is today. And I'm happy to see that there are gay people running for office, and not as a gay person, but as a human being. And we've more or less got to the point where it's not an issue at all any more than a broken toe is, sort of thing. And I appreciate that sort of thing. It's makes life a little simpler and true, honest, more honest. We can be honest.
Do you have any advice that you would give to the younger generations who live in a very different world than you did? It's not as simple as it was in your day, so to speak. Do you have any advice for them?
Well, it's kind of a two-way street. You have to treat somebody with respect as well. And I've never had any problems. As long as I was civilized and appreciated a human being and treated like so. And this is, as they say, it's kindness, that's all you ever need. Ever. With anybody. And it's reciprocated. It's returned tenfold, many more. It's not going to happen always with some really kind of nasty people, but they will they'll get their reward by somebody else. But no, be kind, for goodness sakes alive, and be gentle. And for gay people, stop feeling guilty. Just stop it. It's stupid. You can't feel guilty about being who you are, and don't let them make you do it. I am who I am, and what's it to you? You know. Yeah. We can pick up the gloves if you want to. We can do that, but that's not very successful.
And is that how you were as a police officer as well? You just always were Mavis, who you are?
Pretty much. And the kids I used to see on the street, I just felt so sorry for them. I'd go home and cry. Mm-hmm. But I loved the job. And we had, lots of times we had a lot of laughs. I don't know if they ever remember me or not, but one of the hardest things was bringing three girls up to the Guelph. There was the home up there, like the little. It was like a little police station for faulty girls who didn't go to school, and one was retired. Excuse the pun, but anyway. And she lived in Kingston, and she was not well physically, mentally, and she didn't go to school, and the reason she didn't go to school was because the teacher made fun of her clothes, and they charged her for not going to school because that was the law at the time. You had to go to school. And I was in the car that took her up there, and it was the worst job I ever had in my life, ever. I said, I'm not going to do this anymore. And that was about it. I don't know. They wouldn't even let her bring her own toothbrush at that time. So it's, we have advanced considerably. I don't know if the police or the government would ever allow anybody to take their own toothbrush to jail with them and all. I don't know. But at that time it was very, very important to me that they do that because they had nothing else. Nothing. And this was a little girl that could neither spell nor, bad memory.
Mm-hmm. It's clearly stayed with you.
Yeah.
For a long time. Yeah.
But it's, I have wonderful friends. And I'm sure you know who they are.
Yep,
most of them are.
Friends.
I do.
I'm happy to be part of that circle.
Yes.
Yeah. What do you want to tell our seniors? What do you want to say to our queer seniors? You're our senior at 92.
Well, if you're mobile, keep going, for heaven's sakes. I'm quite sure that a lot of seniors have not traveled outside of London. Come on, get off your buns. It's time is wasting. And there's still stuff out there. I'm going to Holland, as far as I know, next year. Yes, and I may even be going by myself. So, who knows? I probably won't because somebody wants to go.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But you still have that spirit of adventure in you.
I wouldn't say no to that at all.
And that's what keeps you going, right? Is that hope
I don't know what keeps me going. I just think I have an inside motor scooter somewhere.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, that's something I'm looking forward to in the spring. It's a motor scooter. Mm-hmm. I can't sit still.
And then you can get around easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can go over to anybody's and have a cup of coffee and turn around and come back again.
Nice.
Yeah. No, that's another bugbear too, is that the government took away my driver's license. Mm-hmm. And I'm living in a wonderful place right now that's just full of ladies who have lost their driver's license because they're too old to drive.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's an abomination. That's not my description of who we are, or even who should drive, you know. And I often think, why didn't they determine who could drive by the beginner's driver's license?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was restrictive enough for old women to drive during the day, to go across the street for a bottle of aspirins or something.
Yeah.
Good God. Anyway, some of my MPPs are very concerned about that particular regulation.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as I know, I had a promise from one or two of them that they were going to work on that. Maybe they will, maybe they won't, maybe they can't. I don't know. But it remains to be looked at. I don't think that the criteria should be age. That's ageism.
Mm-hmm.
And it has a whole different connotation.
And I, as a young senior, are grateful that you are still advocating for us. You advocated for kids while you were, a police officer, and took care of kids in ways that many police officers today don't.
No, they don't
So,
even talk to them.
Yeah, but as a young senior, I appreciate what you are doing for us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Thanks,
Will
Mavis.
do.
This has been wonderful.
Thank you. Well, I hope I've lessened the horror and the danger that our teenagers and our young people run into every day.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessary, and they don't have to hide. You just be yourself. Be yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're kind to somebody, you'd be surprised. It comes back.
It does, doesn't it?
Way back, yeah.
Yeah. You're a great example of that.
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing your story with us.
Been my pleasure.
It's been great.
Good.